Hi, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Coming Out with Liz and Eddie. I'm Eddie Conner.
And I'm lizlayug.
Today's topic is recognizing past lives and recognizing past life bleed-throughs. And if you like what we're doing, you can hit the like button.
Yep. And
or subscribe because we're learning. We're learning.
That's how we do it. Yeah, that's how we roll.
We didn't know this in a past life because they weren't podcasting in the 1800s, was they?
No, they weren't.
They was casting spells.
That's
but
right.
not podcasting. So here's a question for you, Liz. Have you personally ever had a past life bleed through?
Yes. Yes, many, many times. I have.
And was it scary?
No. Well, no. Yeah, I'd say a couple of them. Well, a few of them, yes, they were quite intense. So much so that I had anxiety. But yeah, very intense.
You just made me literally remember one I completely didn't even remember till you said that.
Yeah, right. You forget until that thing triggers. What about you? Have you ever had any past life bleed-throughs?
I have had them, and they're super common. They're way more common than people think. Also, they're easy to recognize once you know the ins and outs of it, but they're not anything super special. I hate to say it because they're common, right?
Well, I think that some people remember their past lives more than others. And certain things trigger people. Oh, I just remembered one too. So yeah.
It's so weird.
So certain ones trigger other things, and a lot of times it happens in your waking life and happens in your dream life.
Yep. And I think it happens a lot in your dream state because your soul leaves your body and goes out and it does all kinds of delicious things while your physical body is sleeping. But I would love to hear your loose coming out with lizlayug description of what a past life bleed through is for you.
Okay, for me, it's more of a recognition and a recall of a past life that you've had, that you have experienced, something that you would not have known in this lifetime, but you would have had a vision. Like, for example, when a couple of shows ago, we talked about past life, and I saw the Middle East, and it was like two different screens, but I was experiencing the whole thing. So sometimes it will happen. That's why I say it would happen in your waking life. And that was a bleed through.
Yeah.
And I could feel the wind across my face. I could see the darkness in the sky and the sand around me. It was all sand. And I could see a camel, and my friend was who was a very close friend to me, and he had Arabic dress on, and I thought that was rather interesting. And, or in your dream life, which happens quite often, you will have a memory, an intense memory of a past life in which you see yourself and you know yourself to be that person in that lifetime. And, but it's not, but you look different. You completely look different. You could be a different sex. You could come from a different time. You could be from off planet. At one point, these were happening to me all the time, again, as my process to learn how to channel. And it would be from the beginning, the middle, and the end of my life. And I would have over and over again, just one after the other to see this.
Yeah.
But these happen quite commonly. Really does. Or it could be a trigger from when you meet someone. When you meet somebody and you have a connection, we talked about that.
Or a knee-jerk reaction.
Like, oof, don't like this person. Or, oh, that happens quite often. And then you'll have a dream after that, or you'll have a recognition of that, oh, you're good to go with this person, So that happens quite often. Yeah. What's yours?
My definition for me personally is they're usually spontaneous memories. The bleed throughs are like if you're doing this thing over here, and especially if you're in a relaxed state of mind, You're just sort of feeling good. You're doing whatever you're doing here. And then, boom, you trigger activate something from another lifetime. One of the ones that I had a trigger knee-jerk reaction to was whenever I was a little kid, we stayed in Grandma Moselle's house for like a month or something while we were getting our trailer and stuff. And Mama had just come back from the store with Bobby and Terry. And her and Dad, my stepdad, hadn't been married that long. And you know the little gumball machines.
Oh, yeah.
And they would have all kinds of things in it, like rubber spiders and stuff like that. And back then it was a nickel. And you would get your money's worth back then, remember? And she had bought Bobby and Terry something, and Terry got like a rubber grasshopper, and Bobby got like a rubber whatever.
Spider.
No, I got the big black jiggly ass spider. It looked like a little black ball.
Yeah.
But then whenever I opened it, I threw it down. And Mama's like, no, it's not real. It's not real. She kept trying to help me understand it's rubber. It's not real.
Yeah.
Now, Mama's terrified of spiders too. So some of what I was experiencing, I was mimicking from my mother in this lifetime. And then she unfolded that monster. It was huge.
Oh, yeah.
It looked like a crab on the beach, and she's like flopping it around.
Yeah.
And I am screaming my head off in the yard.
Yeah.
And I'm backing away, and she's trying to get me to hold it and touch it. And the first past life regression I did with this intuitive named Sue back in the day, I was in my 20s. I immediately went to this life. I was a little boy, and it was during the Spanish Inquisition. And I was having this experience where I knew I was supposed to hide under the cobblestone street in the sewer system, because I knew that when the Spaniards came through, they were going to kill. I just knew they were going to kill me. So I crawled down there, and now all of these horses are coming through, but they stopped right over the drain system where I was with the horses and everything. And I'm down there for like 20 minutes. And all of a sudden, I'm starting to do this.
Yeah.
And I look down, and I am covered, toe to head, centipedes, roaches, spiders. The rats are coming up now.
Oh, yeah.
But I know if I make a sound, they're going to kill me. And so finally the horses started to drive away, to gallop away.
Yeah.
And I'm down here, and I can see the bottom of everything. And now I've gone into full-blown shock. And then I crawl out once I know they're gone and I'm not going to be killed. I crawl out, and I'm just swatting these things all over me because I'm in shock. But I wouldn't scream or yell because I knew I would be killed.
Dead, yeah.
And then the scout comes up, the person who follows the troops.
Oh, yeah.
And he saw me laying on the ground, and he saw me in shock, and he just pulled his pistol out and took me out of my misery.
Oh, wow.
And that's my tie
Experience.
to spiders.
Well, creatures.
No spiders, grasshoppers, and all of that stuff I played with all day long. But a spider, I couldn't. And I just remember this. I would never, ever step on a manhole cover.
Yeah.
I did not walk on anything cobblestone, like in a park. I went all the way around it.
Oh,
I'm just remembering this.
Yeah. That's what happened.
Yep. And I wouldn't step over the storm drain grid things.
Yeah.
None of it. So it was this traumatic bleed through that I carried over into this lifetime.
Yeah.
That I had, PTSD from a past life.
Yeah, that happens quite often. Yeah.
So sometimes the past life bleed throughs are things that triggered from items in front of us now. And sometimes it's just a memory if we're doing something we used to do. Now you can have these moments where you can literally, in your mind's eye, you go back in time, if you will, and you have all of these delicious experiences.
Well, a lot of times it's not necessarily always negative. It could be positive.
Yeah.
And like that's where you have all these prodigies, these quite brilliant children, or, like my mother, interesting, her whole family, on her side of the family, they're very musically talented. Like she can just listen to a tune and she can play it on the piano.
Wow.
That's it. And my nieces, they're concert, pianists. My uncle is a concert violinist. I mean, it's like something there, whatever. But they've achieved success in previous lifetimes. They've practiced and practiced and practiced. So they bring the memory of that here. But in regards to the bleed through, I want to talk about is like from dreams.
Yeah.
Quite often you have it. I had one significant one when I was in high school, interesting enough. I dreamed that I was at the crossing of the Red Sea. And I was standing on the other side, and I was like a watcher because I was in a cloak, a dark cloak, and you couldn't see my face, but I was with other watchers, and we're on this side, and I can see the pillar of fire, and I could smell the smoke, and I can feel the heat, and I could see on this side I could see the Israelites crossing through the land after they had parted the Red Sea, and I could see it on this side. And it was really very intense. And I'm going like, whoa. But I was there to witness this event.
Yeah.
And that was what my past life was.
So were you a physical person, or were you a soul between lives experiencing this big thing in history?
I was a physical
watcher.
person watching it. So obviously I think I must have been from some other off-planet something watching this whole thing.
By the way, just sidebar to back up some of what you're saying.
Yeah.
They found it's somewhere between 30 and 300 books of the Bible that have never been seen by our eyes for over 150 years.
Oh, yeah.
Guess where they found them?
Where?
Under the Vatican in Rome.
Of course, because of the Council of Nicaea. I think they canceled out all certain books. They took it out for people not to read.
Why? But why?
Well, they want to control the masses.
Bam!
That's what it was about.
Yep. And so you were a part of history where there was a group of people moving away from that level of control.
Well, it wasn't a judgment or anything.
No, you were
just watching. I was just watching that event. And then that was the end of the dream. But it was so impactful, so interesting that several years later, I was here in Los Angeles, and I had gotten talking to some young man, and we were talking about dreams, of course. And he said, I had a very significant dream. I dreamed I was in the city of Sodom and Gomorrah when it was being destroyed. I was like, whoa, amazing. So he told me his whole story, and I go, yeah. And I told him mine.
Yeah.
And I said, I believe you. I believe you were there.
I love all of that.
But it's very synchronous.
Yes. I wonder what's going to happen when history, because we have these past lives, we have these bleed throughs, we have these awarenesses that the entire human race has had.
Of course.
That has been dialed down, dumbed down. And what's going to happen in this Great Awakening? We're in it right now.
Oh, yeah.
We're coming into the Great Awakening. My grandma, if she were alive and thumping her Bible, honey, she'd be like, we is in Revelations. Now go break me 3 switches. And I'm like, I'll let Jesus whip me, Grandma. You just mind your own business now. See, I wouldn't talk to my grandma like that because she would cut me from heaven.
She sure would.
But it's like, so there's this Great Awakening. We're literally in the time of revelations, which simply means the truth gets revealed. That's all it means.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And so they're trying to do a big reset, which isn't going to take. But what's going to happen and is happening is the Great Awakening, like it's happened so many times in biblical chapters and books of the Bible. But wait, there's more, Liz. One of the fun things about it, speaking of past lives and bleed throughs, is most of the books in the Bible that took out of the Bible were all geared toward women and children holding the power of each race.
Oh, interesting.
That women, did you know that when women had children, the whole community raised that child? And anyone who did something bad to children, they just off with your head. And so the women raised the children, and the other women in the community almost up until their early to mid 20s. The women, and even if you're a little boy, and they raised the kids, and then they would turn the boys over to their father, and the men in the community only after they reached their mid 20s to late 20s, when they knew for a fact that those boys and girls knew empathy, compassion, connection, intuition, insight, and awareness, all the things that the Bible taught, that they purposefully took out and said, obey your husband.
Oh, interesting.
I can't wait for it to come out.
But you know what, Eddie, to get back on track
I'm
here,
on track, girl.
On track. Can you give me another example in your life that you've had some sort of past life bleed through?
Yes. Now, see, I'm going to sound crazy, y'all. I'm going to tell you the crazy one.
You know what? That's okay. Just, it's their truth. It's fine.
When I was a little boy.
How old were you?
32.
Okay.
No, no. From the moment I was old enough to think for myself, I would see giants.
Oh, interesting.
And you know, again, as a kid, I was super psychic, and which means I have a crazy off the chain imagination.
Yeah.
They're not the same. I just happen to be super imaginative and super psychic as a kid.
Yeah.
Which was like a raw nerve, and I didn't know nothing about anything other than I was seeing crazy stuff.
Well, you had no one to talk to about it.
That's right.
That's really what
I couldn't
it
go
was.
to my grandma.
Yeah.
I know you listen.
And then?
And then I would see giants.
Yeah.
I would see them. And then I would have these past life bleed throughs of being around them. And then I would see these stories and read these children's books and see these movies about, you know, fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the. I'm like, what the hell are they doing?
Yeah.
And I always knew that they existed. And I felt like I came fresh out of a lifetime where I was interacting with them.
Yeah, you probably
were. And I'm talking about 9 foot, 10 foot, 12 foot tall people.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a reality for me. And then this TV show, whenever I was a kid, Land of the Giants. And that wasn't anything to do with what I was experiencing. But I would.
Was it like a trigger?
It reactivated it, this great awareness. And I always had that experience until I was about 10 or 11 years old. And then when I learned to deep dive and study and research, they are still finding 9 foot, 10 foot, 12 foot skeletons. And the best ones are in the Middle East, where we keep bombing. So they keep people away from the portals, the stargates we were talking about, and those skeletons were in their museums, and they would not take them out. The Smithsonian tried to buy them, and a bunch of other people. They're like, no, this is our heritage.
Well, they did take.
So they obliterated. They bombed it.
Oh, interesting.
But the skeletons are now. So what I thought was make believe was an authentic past life bleed through that I knew was real, and then I was taught it was make believe through school. And now in the last 10 years, it's like they're real.
There's a lot of stories about it. I mean, if you watch Gaia, they talk about it. And I think on National Geographic they talk about it. You know, I think it was like the 1800s. 1900s, around that time, the end of the early 1900s, they discovered a bunch of giant bones on the East Coast or something like that. And then it was taken, I think they sent them all to the Smithsonian. The Smithsonian said they don't know where they're at. Interesting.
We're coming after you, Smithsonian. Don't think for a second. You know, I'm sure the Rothschilds had something to do with it.
Whatever. Honey.
Hold on, this is Liz. This is like a night at the Apollo. She came out with the big cane and ripped me off the stage of that subject matter. She's like, whatever.
No. So but I think I really believe that was a trigger, that you probably did have an experience with giants. But I have a couple I want to share with you guys.
Okay, were they about giants?
No, they weren't.
Okay.
But for me, like my trigger would be, you know, like when I met someone, a lot of times in my lifetime, I would feel this connection, and then I would have a dream about it. I would have a dream where I had met that person, and I would know it. either before I met the person and after I met the person. And like one time I met my former husband, and I was quite young, and he was much older than myself. And we were just friends at the time. We were just friends. And I remember having a very intense dream in which I had been in the arena of the Roman arena where, the Christians were being killed. And he had saved me. And
from being lion food.
Yeah, from being lion food. And I remember seeing him, and he had a black armor on, and he was very tall, and that became my husband. But we had a very intense connection. And then another time where I had met someone else in Europe, and we had a very intense relationship.
I know who that is.
And but I did have a past life. Yeah, you do. I did have a past life experience. I remember having all these dreams being in China. And I would have this one where I saw myself, and I looked into the mirror, and the whole environment was, all Chinese decorative items, and I looked at myself, and I had a headdress on. Must have been a highborn lady just in that lifetime, and I was Chinese. And but like snippets like that, I would have dreams telling me, "Oh, this is what happened. You were connected to this person, and this was how." And so it gives me, or my soul gives me, information in regards to that.
To understand
where I am in my life and what that person has to do in that lifetime, and maybe the opportunity to change it.
Exactly. Yeah. And also the patterns from those lifetimes come back too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure.
And so it's like whatever you didn't finish there, you're going to finish
it here. Or you continue it.
Oh, yeah, until you get it right.
Yeah.
Or until you evolve past it.
Yeah.
So one of the great things about past lives is we will carry attributes from past lives into this lifetime, right?
Yep. Each lifetime, we bring our greatest strengths and our inner knowledge with us, and we pick up where we left off in the last lifetime. Right, Eddie?
Yes. For example, we talked about this, and I'm going to stop saying we've talked about this because the truth is we've talked about everything, y'all.
Yeah, we did. Okay.
And so art, design, color guard, choreography, dance, intuition, mediumship, writing, speaking, intuition in general, all of those are some of my strengths from past lives that I brought over into this lifetime.
That's right.
The difference is if I didn't draw, if I didn't dance, if I had never done those things and exercised the muscle, they would just be dormant in this lifetime. Right. So if you had that on a scale from 1 to 10, on a 10 in the past life, you could come in this lifetime. If you don't choose to cultivate it,
you don't have to.
It will just slowly fade away, and then you will be working on other things in this lifetime. But if you click into it, you're going to be like, hey, girl, what? Not today, bitches. What were some of your strengths?
I have to say,
from past lives that you brought into this one.
That I brought into this one, my ability to focus and meditate is something that was very easy for me. Like when I was quite young, the gifts that I have, I would say that I brought them from previous lifetime to previous lifetime that I brought as a young child, just like you. And that I'm able to do these things. Because it's so funny. I remember when I was quite young and I was seeing things and hearing things and dreaming things. I had no one to talk to about it. You didn't talk to anyone about it.
No.
And plus my mother told me to be quiet. And I think that also my leaning towards a religious life was part of that. Because I think I have been a religious many, many times for certain, because I've had past life when I've seen myself as a religious in a convent. I've seen myself in a cloistered convent, and I had the stigmata, the marks in the hands. And
Yeah.
I had that, and I died very young. But
I had so many boring lives.
you're so crazy.
Meanwhile, it's like I had stigmata, and I was one of the beautiful women in this Asian empire thing with the headdress on.
I'm sure I
lived
wasn't.
in a trailer
I'm sure I
in
wasn't.
1795 and
sure I
during the
wasn't.
Puritan era.
No, but you know what? No, it just so happens those are the ones I remember right
well,
off.
I'm teasing because
But I'm just
we
saying,
have way more of the mundane than we do those.
well, just know. Yeah, I agree with you, because just know, just as much as you were the king, you were also the pauper. If you were the victim, you were also the predator.
100%.
You have experienced all of this. It's part of our life experience.
And-
all of that.
And one of the best attributes that we bring from other lifetimes is if you have knee-jerk reactions when you see injustice.
Yeah.
It's because you have been on the receiving end of that yourself, where people just make up rules and make up laws and do things to go in and after a certain group of people. If you have knee-jerk reactions to that and you want to leap forward and do something, it's because you've been on the receiving end of it, or you were the one doing the harm to groups of people in other lifetimes,
That's
like
true.
you said.
That's true.
And so it has to come around full circle, so you have all the different
Perspectives.
Yes. I was going to say
That's right.
perceptions.
That's right.
Perceptions, perspectives.
What are the easy things to remember about past life bleed-throughs, Eddie?
3 easy things to remember about past life bleed-throughs, Liz.
What are they?
That your atoms and molecules carry timeless memories from lifetime to lifetime.
That's important item. That is important to remember. You do have that I want to say muscle memory, just like when you exercise. You still have that memory.
Yeah.
Your higher self and soul have access to every life you've ever experienced. That is absolutely true. You have access to all of it. If you want to see it, to hear it, to feel it, to smell it, you can. You just have to be in that place where you can do it and want to do it.
And a lot of past life bleed-throughs will happen to us in real time, where memories will be activated. I can't stop laughing. And I don't know why. I think I'm giddy. Was it the donut?
It must have been the donut. I think so.
I don't know.
This is a serious subject.
Ebony, was it the donut? It was the donut. Yeah. Okay. Ooh,
Okay.
child. So number 3 out of the 3 easy things to remember is past lives often happen to us in real time when we activate memories that have gone by. And also sometimes you can't, in the moment that you have the experience, I love you, Liz. You can literally have the experience of this lifetime and a past lifetime. I just went to New Orleans with a friend of mine, and I was there in New Orleans for a couple of hours in the 7th grade with my mom and brothers. And this time, and when I lived in Louisiana for 2.5 months back then, I had all these past life bleed-throughs.
Yeah.
Like tons. I couldn't control them. This time when I went back, I took pictures of a couple of the houses that my mom had a heart connection to. And my friend said, on the last day we're there, we're going to stop and we're going to find it. And you're going to take pictures of the things your mom took pictures of. Mm-hmm. And so when I took the pictures of that exact house that my mother had taken Polaroids of in 1975, I had the past life come through that I lived before I knew my mother from other lifetimes, and that past experience in this lifetime with my mother from 1975 come bleeding through. My mom stepped through the veil and spoke to me.
Oh, nice.
And so it was a collapse of time-space reality. And if your heart leads you somewhere and the intention is pure, you will have moments like that a lot. And Liz talked about that frequently during this show.
Yeah.
It's like whether it's this lifetime or other lifetimes, whether you're dreaming or you're meditating or you're consciously awake, it doesn't matter. Past life bleed-throughs are so much more common than we realize. And the attributes we bring from other lifetimes into this lifetime can enhance the quality of your life now more than ever before. Don't you think, girl?
I think so. And I think that also when you have a leaning, like I love to travel. Edward loves to travel. But if you have you feel like you want to go to a certain place in the world or in the country or a city, or you feel compelled to do this and no one else, and you don't know where that comes from, but you must go, investigate, find out. Because more than likely you've had experience in that place and there's some work you need to finish up, or you just need to experience it again.
And newsflash, get a past life regression from somebody who knows what they're doing, because
Exactly.
I was in Peru 2 or 3 times in my regressions before I ever stepped foot in Peru in real time.
Yeah.
And it happens that way.
Yeah.
Hi, if you've enjoyed the show, literally, please like and subscribe and tell other friends about our channel. You've been watching Coming Out with Liz and Eddie. I'm Eddie Conner.
And I'm lizlayug.
And this entire show has been about recognizing past life bleed-throughs. Our next show is on the power of winventories. And until we meet again, remember to keep your thoughts, feelings, and frequencies high, fast, and pure so that you can unlock the universe within. Right, Liz?
That's right, Eddie.
I love you.
I love you more.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.